Anna always believed love was one of those big, glossy ideas people like to dress up with poetry, songs, and bad decisions. Something social, something invented, something you could explain away if you were sensible enough. At her age, she thought she'd seen enough of life to know the difference between real chemistry and people simply getting carried away. So when friends talked about the one, she usually smiled politely, sipped her tea, and kept her skepticism tucked neatly behind her calm expression. But then it happened. It started in the most ordinary way. A conversation that ran a little longer than it should have. A glance that lingered a fraction too long. A laugh that seemed to land somewhere deep in her chest. Nothing dramatic. Nothing out of a film. And yet, as she walked home that evening, Anna noticed her heart beating harder than it should have been. Her palms felt damp. Her mind, usually tidy and disciplined, began to drift back to one single person as if pulled by a quiet magnetic force. She stopped outside her front gate and frowned at herself. What on earth was that? Inside, she dropped her bag on the kitchen bench, leaned both hands on the counter, and tried to make sense of the strange rush humming through her body. It wasn't just excitement. It was sharper than that. Restless, bright, a little unsettling. Like her system had been switched on and she hadn't been given the instructions. And that's the thing about falling in love for real. It doesn't always arrive as a soft, gentle feeling. Sometimes it barges in through the back door of your nervous system, disguised as a racing pulse, a warm flush, a silly grin you can't quite suppress. One minute you're trying to stay rational, the next your brain is behaving like it's been handed the most important mystery in the world. If you've ever wondered why one person can suddenly take up so much space in your thoughts, why your body reacts before your mind can argue back, or why love can feel both thrilling and slightly mad, you're not alone. Because beneath all the poetry and the heartbreak, something remarkable is happening in the brain. And once you understand it, love doesn't lose its magic. It gets even more fascinating. Anna certainly didn't expect to be dragged into that kind of revelation. But as her thoughts kept circling back to that one encounter, she realized this wasn't just a feeling she could dismiss. It was a signal, a very human one, and what it was trying to tell her would change everything. Anna stood still for a moment after that first rush of confusion, staring at her own reflection as if it belonged to someone else. Her heart was still beating a little too fast, her hands still slightly damp, and the worst part was that she couldn't talk herself out of it. She had spent years trusting logic, valuing clarity, and rolling her eyes at the dramatic language people used around love. Yet there she was caught in something deeply physical, almost alarmingly immediate. "This is ridiculous," she muttered to herself, half amused, half unsettled. But her body didn't care what she thought. It was already reacting. That's where the science gets interesting. The first stage of falling in love often begins in the brain's reward system, the same network involved in motivation, pleasure, and habit. When something or someone feels especially exciting, dopamine surges, making everything about that person seem brighter, more important, more irresistible. Suddenly, a message, a glance, even the memory of a voice can feel like a small event with a big emotional charge. It's not just romance. It's chemistry with momentum. And for someone like Anna, who believed she was immune to all that, the experience was both fascinating and slightly confronting. As the days passed, she noticed something else. She wasn't just excited, she was preoccupied. Her mind kept drifting back to the same person again and again, like a song stuck on repeat. That's where lower serotonin levels can play a part, intensifying obsessive thinking and making it harder to shift attention away. It's why early love can feel less like a calm feeling and more like being mentally pulled by a current you didn't choose. Anna caught herself smiling at nothing, rereading a text, replaying a conversation, and then laughing at how completely unlike herself she had become. And yet, beneath all that intensity, something softer was beginning to form. Oxytocin, often linked to closeness and trust, starts to build the deeper emotional connection that can turn excitement into attachment. It's the reason a warm conversation after a long day can feel more intimate than a grand declaration. It's the quiet chemistry of safety, familiarity, and being seen. Anna didn't realize it at first, but what she was feeling wasn't just attraction. It was the beginning of bond-making. If you've ever wondered why love can make rational adults feel a little unreasonable, you're definitely not alone. And if this is already sounding familiar, don't forget to leave a like, because the brain's next trick is even more surprising. What happens when passion starts to settle and love begins to ask for something deeper? Anna sat quietly after all of it, staring out the window as if the evening itself had changed shape. The city lights were soft and blurred, but inside her, everything felt strangely clear. What she had once dismissed as a bit of emotional drama now looked more like a finely tuned biological event, something powerful enough to rearrange priorities, sharpen attention, and make even the most skeptical mind pause. She let out a small laugh, half amused and half stunned. "So, I wasn't losing my mind," she said under her breath. "My brain was just being very rude." And that was the beauty of it. Love didn't become less real just because it could be explained. If anything, it became more extraordinary. Dopamine wasn't some cold scientific word anymore. It was the spark behind the thrill of a text message, the lift in your chest when someone walks into the room. Oxytocin wasn't just chemistry. It was the quiet glue that turns chemistry into trust, into tenderness, into the feeling that you can finally exhale beside another person. And serotonin, when it dips and leaves you thinking about them far too often, too intensely, reminded her that obsession and affection are not the same thing, even if they can wear similar clothes at the beginning. That was the turning point for Anna. She began to understand that passion is the fire, attachment is the shelter, and lasting love is what happens when both are cared for over time. Passion can sweep you off your feet. Attachment can keep you steady. But real love, the kind people carry through ordinary days and difficult years, asks for something deeper: attention, patience, honesty, and the choice to stay aware even when the feelings are loud. If you've ever looked at someone and felt your whole inner world shift, maybe you know exactly what that means. Maybe you've recognized the racing heart, the restless mind, the urge to call just to hear their voice. And maybe, like Anna, you've wondered whether love is magic or simply biology with excellent timing. The truth is, it can be both. Knowing what's happening in the brain doesn't shrink the experience. It gives it context. It helps us see ourselves more clearly and maybe love each other a little more wisely. If this made you see love in a new way, give the video a like so more people can find it too. And tell me in the comments, do you think love is mostly chemistry, choice, or a bit of both? If you enjoy exploring the strange, fascinating side of human behavior, subscribe, because there's plenty more to uncover.